Hey, what's up guys, it's Greg, and I'm back with the next installment in my video series. And I left off the last video, talking about the day of my initial. So there really wasn't much going on until was just basically just waiting for the appointment. I know a lot of people say that you shouldn't Google your diagnosis. Never do that because it's never going to be a good thing because you will scare yourself. For me, that wasn't an option to not do it. So I was Googling most of the day Friday, looking at statistics, learning everything I could about lung cancer. The pattern, or I guess the trend I could tell, was that stage 1 was very treatable, like most cancers. And then stage 4 was really, really bad. Lung cancer is really one of the most deadly cancers. I mean, it's up there with pancreatic and brain cancer. So, I'm doing all this research, trying to figure out, what is my situation? Because all we know is that it's lung cancer and nothing else. We don't know the type of lung cancer. What the treatment options are going to be, where it is, because we still hadn't completed any imaging. So we go into the appointment, and this is kind of the big moment that you hear about from other cancer patients going in for that, first oncology appointment. And we went in a little more blind than probably some people do, because we only knew that it was a diagnosis and we didn't know the specific staging of it. So we go into the room, we're waiting for the oncologist, and he turned around and he starts asking questions. He examined the lymph node, and he still hasn't given us any sort of conclusion of anything. And we're talking about kind of what led up to this. He wanted to hear, all about, my lifestyle before, how it changed, how, the month of February, I really started to deteriorate physically. And, after, we kind of talked through all that, he basically said, we probably need to look at doing treatment very soon, if not this afternoon, because it was stage 4. That was the first that we had learned that, it was a formally stage 4 lung cancer diagnosis. So when he said that, it's just kind of like the ceiling comes crashing down in your mind. Like, it's just shatters everything at that moment, of what your expectation was, what, your life is going to be like for the rest of your life. That it was stage 4. Apparently, once if you have a pericardial or pleural effusion, and there's fluid, there, that basically automatically makes it a stage 4 diagnosis. I didn't realize that, at the time, when I, had the fluid in the heart and the lungs, but yeah, the fluid in the heart and the lungs makes it a stage 4 lung cancer diagnosis. So, at that point, after we kind of got our bearings a little bit, after he told us that, we started talking about, okay, what are the next steps? We still not had done any formal imaging, so he went ahead and scheduled a PET scan, CT scan, as well as biopsy the lymph node. So this was a Friday. These tests were going to be scheduled for early next week. And the results of these tests were going to determine our path of treatment. So Friday, probably the toughest day of my life. Following that appointment, we walked out of the building, got in the car, and kind of basically just broke down crying, Maureen and I. I remember I nearly put my fist through the window in the passenger seat in our car. You know, it was more of just anger, you know, not understanding, shock, you know, again, you know, lots of anger, sadness, you know, and so we got home, and at this point, since we had the official diagnosis and the staging, we did start telling people. You know, this was not easy for a lot of our close friends. You know, we sent texts just because we didn't have it in us or the time emotionally to make it through all those phone calls. We you know, probably even more so than emotionally weren't ready. We just physically didn't have the time to, you know, contact each person individually. So, you know, we started texting people. You know, we called close family members. You know, right now I was not working. I had been off a week from work. And so, you know, I knew I had to do this. I called my manager and told him pretty much, you know, the full story. Again, nothing but shock and awe from his side of things. And, you know, I called a few other people from work that I knew. You know, and I kind of left it to them to kind of tell people at the Federal Reserve, which is where I was working at the time. You know, allowed them to just kind of tell everybody else that needed to know. So that was Friday. I know this was definitely a tougher video for me to make. You know, this is a day that most cancer patients never forget. You know, now that we're coming up on 5 years, it's definitely, I've been thinking about it a lot more. And, you know, so much has happened over the last 5 years. It feels like, you know, it's been more like 10 or 15 years. But it's just been five years that I've been able to live. So that's where I'm going to end today, you know, leaving the cancer center on Friday. In my next video, I'll be talking about going through the tests, the scans, the biopsy of everything, and then my next appointment, and, you know, kind of identifying our next steps for the treatment plan. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Any questions, comments, leave them in the comments section below. And I will see you in the next video.